What's up, everybody? You are tuned into the Output with DJ Unprotected, featuring me as your host. This is a podcast focused on pop culture, the entertainment industry, music, and fun segments to make you feel better about yourselves. This is the world's greatest podcast, and if it's not yet, it one day will be. But if you have been enjoying this show and appreciate the content, please hit the like button, subscribe, and support this podcast. Another quick favor, if you have an extra 3 seconds to rate this podcast, be honest. And please do. Makes my boss happy. So whether you're listening on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Stitcher, Google, I promise I'm everywhere. Please give us a rating. I would really appreciate it. So here we are, episode 15. Exciting stuff, man. 15 is pretty cool, I will tell you what. And I'm going to start this off with something a little different. We're going to take a moment to reflect on ourselves, okay? We are going to start this off with a question. Let me ask you this question, all right? I want you to tune in, clear your thoughts as we go over this, all right? Here's the question. If karma was coming back to you, would it help or hurt you? I'm going to let you think about this for a moment. Let it marinate, okay? Or maybe 20. And I'll answer it later myself. But I came across this question and I was like, you know what? Like, thinking about something like this could really shape some like reactions and maybe, future thoughts of, okay, here's how I should maybe treat people differently. Now, just offering perspective, not telling you that's how I approached it, but it's a way. So I think it's a cool question. It's solid. Why not? All right. So in this episode 15, we are discussing the new Space Shuttle Challenger series on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. Pretty badass. Definitely in the top 10 watched shows of this week. Fall fashion and what's on the hot list, at least to me, so I can impress myself, social distancing, and maybe you too, because I may get some cool shit and wear it on the show. And we're also going to talk about butt towels, not TP, don't be silly, but butt towels are a completely different subject on their own, and we are going to discuss it. And some classy ladies in the music industry dropped some new music videos. Ain't about WAP. Okay, we're talking about classy ladies, and we've got them covered. This is going to be awesome. All right, so rolling into this, okay, this new documentary on Netflix about the Challenger. This event happened before I was born, so I never really knew much about it, and like I may be sitting here trying and claiming ignorance, but I didn't. It was probably brought up in social studies or whatever, but I can't say as a kid that I had the same amount of fascination for space and all that jazz like I do now. But I remember researching, kind of looking into it about a year ago because something had popped up on YouTube and I was watching a channel and it was like, the teacher flight or, whatever. And I was like, I remember, and my dad said one time, like, I think it came on the news or something where it talked about the Challenger disaster. And he was like, oh, yeah, the flight with the teacher. And I'm like, what was the big deal? But I didn't understand the full scope of why that was so important and why it meant a lot to people. And we'll talk about that. But it basically, like, brought NASA into the limelight of the public's eye. Like, hey guys, check us out. We are bringing this to you. So I watched this documentary because, obviously what happens, right? There's no spoiler alert. This is history, okay? But all 7 members of the crew died. And you would think there's risks with attempting to fly to space. Like you're in a rocket, okay? And so they've got rockets, boosters, there's fuel. There's a lot of opportunity for error. Like you can explode, okay? There's a lot of chemistry, science, things happening, right? That we're not necessarily meant to propel ourselves off of this planet. But we do it, so there's obviously risks associated with that. You are fighting gravity, okay? So I bet, when you consider that stuff, you're like, okay, I saw Apollo 13, like they had issues, right? And then obviously Apollo 1 was also another disaster, but that was the first one. So there's definitely things to learn. But when you take a look at this show and try to figure, or this event, and try to be like, okay, was it like just by chance that this happened? But obviously, like I said, I was ignorant to it. So the documentary, I thought, did a great job outlining, telling the story of this whole situation, presenting the facts. Okay. So at that time, right in the, late 70s, early 80s, and when they started doing these shuttle missions, like NASA saying, hey, we have opened the doorway and we have completely thrown ourselves through it of traveling to space on a returning level to a point where this can be a commercial venture. And the whole shuttle is like pretty interesting because they were using that to launch, payloads, whether it's like, for military missions, or it could have been for satellites. And then they were going to, operate and work on the Hubble Space Telescope. So it was really cool avenue of a way of continuously using one type of spacecraft over and over again, in theory, right? Okay, because we know that there's potentially issues. But at the time, NASA was cocky and shady about their practices. Okay, they were proving themselves, but cocky because they were like, yo, we can do this. Okay, other than Apollo 1, and then you had the issue with Apollo 13, but like there wasn't catastrophic deaths. There was no major disasters to deaths, right? Until this point, like I said, you had Apollo 1, but then here you are with working your shuttle missions, and they were successfully launching and then bringing back the shuttle. They send a crew up and come back. So they're regular with it. So NASA was very cocky, and they were pushing though, like for that look at us to gain support. So when they started the space shuttle missions, at first it was on like the front page of all the newspapers. Okay, but then it started to shift, and all of a sudden, like, public's eye didn't care about this. It's like, someone like the SpongeBob episode where he rips his pants like 30 times. Okay, first few times was funny, but after that, like, nobody really cared anymore. So it was the same thing. They kept launching and landing, and people were like, oh, okay, like, that's what's up. Good. Glad the funding's working for you. But it started to slowly shift in the newspapers. Now you think about in the 80s, okay, there wasn't like tablets and, computers and stuff like that, like internet. It basically was newspapers and the news. And this was no longer NASA's ventures into space was no longer on the front cover. So they put this thing out where they were going to, obviously like try to find a teacher in America. And so like they narrowed it down from like 1,000 volunteers to like, the short percentage. Then they had their last 10, and then they selected their final one, which was Krista McAuliffe. So that's why it was such a big deal, because then once they selected her, they showed like kind of the process. Here they're taking a normal citizen and preparing them to go fly in space. That's why it was a big deal. It brought NASA back into the public eye. People were involved. She was almost like a celebrity. And it was pretty cool in that aspect how they did that. Now, it was very smart, okay? But, obviously, like if you watch the documentary or you look into all that happened with this, NASA's attitude was kind of like more about look at us, we're going to gain support, and less about we love our people. Again, they were super cocky. And it was weird. I always thought like NASA was the cool agency, right? Like they're trying to expand the touch of man to go and do really cool things. And it's like they, were a different type of entity. They had their funding. Obviously, they were getting it from the government, and that's why they wanted such a close plug with, Congress and the Senate. So it's just wild that like they did some really shady shit, okay, to push their schedules. And they had a lot of tight schedules. So, during this whole process of, there's the Challenger shuttle, it was delayed several times. So there was like omens happening. Like this thing was messed up, not the shuttle itself, but the weather was bad. So they had to delay it. And then on like the day before they were going to launch, there was an issue with closing up the hatch. And so they ended up, canceling that day. And then they were like, then the pilot told his wife, like, yo, we're not going to fly the next day. So this is on the 27th of January. And he was like, yo, we're not flying tomorrow. It's going to be too cold. Man, on 28 January 1986, all right, this is a little bit before I was born. Freezing that day, like absolutely freezing. There were icicles all over this launch pad, the spacecraft, everything, right? So they're trying to defrost this thing, but the temperature was still below 30 degrees that morning. They were supposed to launch at like 9:30, 9:38. They ended up not launching until 11:38. So many things. And like, just backing it up. So NASA knew that taking off was a bad idea, and they wanted the boosters contracting company, I think Thiokol, to prove that they couldn't launch instead of, the company saying, hey, we're not recommending launch because we have had this issue with the boosters. Okay, so they had done some studies on previous launches that the O-rings inside the boosters that would basically connecting the parts and keeping the fuel in the fire, flames, whatever, inside the boosters, when it was cold, they noticed that there was issues with the O-rings holding up. And when O-rings get cold, they don't hold the same form, and they are definitely a lot weaker. So they knew that there was a problem, and they had done temperature tests, and they knew that it was too cold that day to launch. But the day before, they recommended to NASA, hey, we don't think you should launch. NASA fought back on it and said, you need to prove to us why we can't launch. If not, then we need to hear a go. And so you can watch the documentary. It's pretty interesting how they shared the stories of people who were on both sides of that table, obviously different sides of the country. But NASA like really pushed them into a corner. And man, I don't think they made some good decisions, obviously, but there was a major malfunction, and they knew it. So that when it launched, 73 seconds into the launch, when they went to go, full power or full throttle, the O-ring seal head broke, and you could see a flume coming out of one of the boosters. If you look at like the slow motion cameras, now it's the 80s. It's not like today. You're not seeing anything HD, but you can see it. Like you see this flame coming out, as NASA called it, some anonymous or unexplainable flume. Okay, it was a flame. And ended up causing the gigantic rust-colored fuel tank, right, is loaded with hydrogen, to explode. So the shuttle explodes and kills all 7 crew members. Now, you see this happen and you wonder, like I wonder, I'm saying? I got a curious mind. Like you're in the shuttle, in the crew cabin. Okay, you had, I think, 3 up top and 4 at the bottom, something like that. So you had 3 members, including the pilot up top, and then 4 at the bottom because there's a total of 7. I don't think there's any windows on that crew level, on the mid-deck. But the front, obviously, like the top deck, whatever it's called, where the pilot was, he had a couple flight windows, obviously, so he could pilot the aircraft, like upon re-entry and all that jazz. But can you imagine, like, they're taking off, they know they're feeling the energy of the rockets and like probably a lot of vibrations and stuff, and they're hearing through the comms, and then all of a sudden like loud noise gets shaken up, and then the pilot, like in his last words, he must have seen the flash or something, and he says, uh-oh, and then those comms out, the thing exploded, and you just see like the pieces just fly everywhere. But again, like the perspective, can you imagine like what happened? So I was like, yo, did they just burn up? Did they explode? Like, did the whole thing explode into pieces? Kind of like the Columbia shuttle when it re-entered Earth, like when it just basically disintegrated into pieces? Like, is that what happened with this? When they were, thousands and thousands of feet up? So they didn't really get into it that much in the documentary, but they said that, they went and they looked and they were able to find pieces of the spacecraft, the Challenger, in the Atlantic Ocean, and they did find the crew cabin, okay, but they finally mentioned that like they weren't able to identify all the bodies, but they were able to identify some, so the bodies that were identified were returned to the families, and the ones that weren't have like a special spot at the Arlington ceremony. interesting to me. So I was like, did they burn up? Like, what happened? So there's a lot that has looked into this situation. Now, it's super interesting to me. So you may not be, like maybe you do kind of care about this stuff. The fact that like, okay, so there they are. Shuttle explodes. Crew cabin goes fucking flying, right? Not on fire. They're not lit up. But some of them turn on their emergency oxygen, okay, on their suits. So it could have been after. They know that cabin pressure was probably jacked up. They lost all power. Who knows, right? But they turned on some of them turned on the oxygen on their suits to say that they had consciousness after the explosion. So, so some theorists and scientists say that what happened was the crew cabin, it exploded, it separated, it flew with the debris, and then this thing came down, hitting the Atlantic Ocean at a rate of like 200 feet per second. So if you think about that, here is like whatever, a crew cabin, like it's definitely not like your normal capsule with people inside at that rate tumbling down. Like, can you imagine, like, the people on the middeck, if they were conscious, like, you don't know, like, you probably feel like you're falling because you're not fighting gravity anymore. Gravity is taking your ass down to be like, that's it, we're crashing, and then just wondering when eventually you're going to hit. And then hitting water at that rate, dude, I can't imagine. So that probably explains the whole fact that they weren't able to identify all of the bodies. Because when when you're inside something and hit at a rate of 200 feet per second, whew, it's wild to think about. Like when you put yourself in situations of like disasters and to think about, I mean, I don't know, maybe not everybody does that, but I do. I'm like, man, what would that be like? You're in the cabin, you're sitting there, you're excited. Woo, we got launch, we're up. And then all of a sudden, like flash, something happens. You just hear, uh-oh. Then you see people fighting to breathe. And then, like, you're just tumbling and that's it, like, you're done. Do you close your eyes? Do you watch? Do you expect? I mean, I know what I would do myself, but yeah, it's wild to think about. So, man, so it's a very, really cool, like, documentary because it opens your eyes on, like, what NASA was in that time frame of, trying to be superior and show how cool we were with being able to travel to and from space on a regular basis. So I guess on one hand, you can see that so here's an organization, agency, really tight on deadlines, trying to keep the public's response so that they can continue to get funding and expand space exploration. Take, man's mind and reach for it. All right. But then you also have the attitude of safety. Who are you caring for? But then when you meet the astronauts in interviews, like they all know the risk associated with it. So can you point the blame at NASA? Like, you're hearing sides of the story, but you can imagine on one side of the table really believing in an organization that is going to expand the limits of man and to say, okay, well, you've said that there are some issues with the equipment, but can you prove to me that it won't 100% work? Prove to me that is faulty. Like, it's a wild attitude to have, but you can kind of understand on the other side of the table when you're that passionate about certain things and the pressure's on you, you can't, it's a little messed up. I'd like to think that if I was on that side to be like, weigh the risk. Like, there is a really big chance, like, we should not launch at this temperature. I'd probably be on the table of the people fighting against doing so, because when you're passionate about a job, you also consider people. I don't know, the members on this NASA commission probably were focused on their career, deal with it all the time. A lot of people just are career focused, but really cool documentary, really opened my mind to wanting to understand more of the history of the space exploration and what's happened. And so next, I kind of want to look into the Columbia explosion that happened upon reentry. That was right around my birthday too, in 2003. And I remember I was ice fishing with my dad. We were listening, with some friends. I think it was on a Sunday, I think. And the radio was on. We always had the radio, and we had just finished putting in our tip ups. I don't know if you guys have ever been ice fishing, but I used to do that as a kid in New York, and it was a great time. And And I remember hearing it, and we were like, wait, what? The thing exploded on re-entry? I mean, it was wild to think of. And then obviously that's when they talked about the 1986 Challenger Shuttle explosion. So it's it's wild, but I do want to look more into that because a quick research on the Columbia explosion also points that NASA was holding out on pertinent information that should have been addressed prior to that mission, but instead decided to give it a go launch anyway. That was in 2003, so you can see there are crew cabin videos of them re-entering before obviously comms and the camera goes out. Pretty interesting stuff, but I would like to know, like, are we due for another space-related disaster, and can we 100% avoid them? Honestly, I hope not, because space is cool. Not saying that I would go. I don't feel like we should be trying to escape this planet and reach outside when we haven't fully grasped how to take care of each other properly here and how to take care of our environment itself. But sure, let's explore outside of this. But it's cool to think about. And I really hope that, like, we take a much more, and by we, I mean a society, take a much more cautious approach to people's lives and exploration. All right, we got to think about the true value here. That's where I'm at with that. So if you are interested in that series, I think they did a great job. The documentary, it's almost like, it reminds me, it's similar to the style that was presented in that Aaron Hernandez documentary Netflix put out last year. So recommend, check it out. I think Netflix does a great job at these documentaries, putting the facts, the interviews, the music, the timeline, the layout of the drama. So definitely recommend it. That's what I did watch. I don't always binge tons of TV, but if I'm going to watch something consistent, it probably involves space. So, and for all of our new listeners out there, or everybody wondering, no, this still is not a space show. Okay. I just happen to like space. And since I'm talking on it on this show, I am willing to talk about it for you guys. So, okay, rolling through this, I just, again, probably have to talk to the sound guy. I was making sure that I still had sound, and I did. So, looks like the new sound guy's not getting fired. Okay, rolling through into fashion, all right? I love fall. I love this time of year. It's fun because you roll into the holidays. Things are changing, and it is about to be Timberland season. Got some Timbs. All right, so you guys have probably all saw this. Kamala Harris rocked Timbs. I think it was about a week ago, and the internet absolutely loved it. And so, when was the last time you rocked some Timbs? I mean, for me, it's probably been about 20 years. And I think prior to having those Timbs, I had some lugs. So if that takes you back, yeah, I would just put it out there like that. So it's probably been about 20 years for me since I've had some Timbs. I almost bought some last year, but decided not to, as I felt like I could get away with Converse on the same level of, outfits. But I think I'm going to get a pair this year, probably go with the classic. I don't know. We'll see. But I think they seem cool. But last year I didn't get them. It's like they say, he who hesitates lack judgment. So I guess I didn't think they were in at the time and I didn't want them. But it's cooling off a bit here in Texas. I think it's hot as shit up in the studio though. So hold on one second because I need a drink. Today's beverage is a 16-ounce Miller Lite, perfectly hugged by a Green Bay Packers koozie. That's right. It's nice at home. It's perfect. No condensation on the console here. My equipment stays dry. I love it. Okay. Very thirsty today. Worked out. Anyway, my bad. So it's finally cooling off here in Texas. Not quite scarf season. I think we have a few more months until we hit that. But I love scarf season. I think scarves are cool. They look good with a jacket or without. But we are kind of rolling back into pants season here in Texas, where it's not 100 plus degrees, okay? And you can rock jeans without some swass, without some swamp ass. And whether, it stays hot or not, I will definitely continue to maintain access to the butt towel. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the butt towel, but the butt towel, okay, all started when I had my BMW 4 Series a few years ago, with the leather seats, all right, and they weren't vented, okay? And here in Texas, when it's 100 degrees, high humidity, baking in your vehicle, man, holy shit, like your seats get hot. You get in that thing in some gym shorts and you might lose some skin. And don't act like that's never happened to you guys, right? When you sit on some leather seats in a hot summer day, you fucking feel that, man. Like you will lose a layer, all right? So I got smart and I can't even own all of this brilliant idea. But I started to put a towel down on the seat, okay? So even if you sat down and it was really hot on your back, you could still like get in the car and lean like really far forward without burning yourselves. But it's pure genius. And I remember one of my ex-girlfriends, it was about like probably 4 years ago or something. At the time, she had a towel on her seat. So I was going to drive, we are going to go get some food. And I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? Like, why do you got a towel here? Do you bring your dog with you in the vehicle? And she was like, no, it's my butt towel. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, a butt towel to combat the swass. So now I do it because it works. So whether I'm wearing slacks, jeans, whatever, shorts, I always have a butt towel in the Jeep. If I need it, I put it down there. And it would be cool. Like sometimes when I take the doors off the Jeep, I'll have the towel and, you'll see the shit just flailing. If I don't like perfectly fold it on the seat, shit's just like waving at other cars as we go by. Look, man, it's fresh air, airing out my butt towel. Totally cool. Matter of fact, I'm sitting on a butt towel right now. Telling you, it works all the time. If you have air-conditioned seats or vented seats, I think the butt towel's clutch. And, prove me wrong. I'm telling you, it's great and it'll save your seats, especially, I think, this awesome Secret Lab chair. So, yeah. But that's where we're at with fashion. Thankfully, it's cooling off. Probably going to get a couple more flannel shirts here soon, start doing some shopping. I don't know if I want to do the online shopping. I was getting emails. I think it's interesting. GQ has got this like GQ box that you can get quarterly. And I was interested in checking it out because it seemed like, for whatever the price point they're asking, say $50, they were offering you like $200 worth of products. So, random stuff that really could like add some flair to your style. But the thing that like I don't like is these commitment things. Like, okay, yeah, sign up for our box, but we are going to automatically like charge you once a quarter and then send that box. So we'll charge you and then you'll get the box like a week later. And it's like, man, I'm going to forget about that shit. Like you for real. Like I can't tell you how many times I've signed up for like a magazine subscription and forgot about it. And like got that magazine for like 2 years, 4 years, moved. They were still forwarding that shit to my address. And you're like, dude, how did I sign up for that? Because it's different. Like you don't log into an account and say, yo, let me look at my subscription. Like it's still always like you call, you pay online, but there's no like login to update it. It's either going to cancel at the end of the 12 or 24 month, or it's going to like recharge you. It's crazy. So anyway, they want to do this like thing where you every, once a quarter, but I've got commitment issues when it comes to that shit. I have completely cut out commitment things. When it comes to paying, okay, not relationships, I'm good on that side. I've spent a lot of years working on that. I'm talking about the commitment to consistently pay for things because we're going to forget. So like cable, I cut that shit because why do I have to sign a contract for like 24 months for you to charge me more than anybody else? Bump that noise. Internet, canceled that shit. Got Google Fiber is much better because you can just do monthly and then cancel it and then that's it. So like, dude, forget that. You know what I'm saying? So done with the subscription stuff, but this box seems really cool, but you have to subscribe. Like you can order it and then cancel it, but you have to do that initial subscription and you check the box saying, I understand that you will charge me once a quarter and when I'm charged, it will be sent a week later. And right now I sign up, I won't be charged. until like a couple weeks for the thing to process, and then they'll send me the box. It's just wild, but I thought it'd be cool to maybe do something like that, or to sign up for one of those other services to where you can like message a stylist and they hook you up. But again, those are also subscription, and it's annoying. Like, why can't you just hook me up with a box? Why do I have to sign up for every 2 months, send me $100 worth of clothes? Like, maybe I just want to buy $300 worth of shit right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get it, but you know why companies do that? Anytime it seems like it may be convenient for you, it's actually more convenient for the company. They're doing it because they know people are going to forget about it, and every month someone's going to get a box in their doorstep and say, "Oh man, I forgot to cancel that." Every month is going to happen. I can't. You know it. I know you've done it. Come on, man. Don't lie to yourself. You sign up for those magazines or whatever, Stitch Fix, whatever, and you keep getting the stuff and forgetting to cancel it, all right? Find somebody who signed up for Publishers Clearinghouse. Ask them why they keep getting it, because they forgot. You know what I'm talking about here? It's a fact. It's truth. Hold on a second. What do you guys do while you're listening to a podcast and the host just goes silent? Do you wonder, I wonder if they're taking a drink right now? I wonder if they're thinking, did their audio guy fuck up? Like, what do you guys think? Like, seriously, I want to know. Like, when I listen to podcasts as an audio person, okay, when all of a sudden it just stops, I'm like, yo, did something happen? Did my phone turn off? Like, what happened, you know? And when I was producing a couple series, I would always tell the guests, like, hey, if a question's difficult, tell the audience it's difficult. Don't just sit there, rub your chin with your hand, and then look around at the ceiling, because the guest can't hear that. You know what I'm saying? So I will tell you, because I feel like it's important for me to direct on this show, let you know what's up. I'm going to take another sip of my tasty beverage. So hang tight, don't hold your breath, because this may take a second. Pro tip, if you guys watch the YouTube channel, Aztec Nation, if you just search for the Output with DJ Unprotected, I upload videos of all the shows. And so what you can do is, if you have it in the background or watch it or listen to it, you can actually see when I'm going to take a drink, so you know that it's not just blank air. All right, so that was a fun little squirrel moment, wasn't it? Yup. All right, guys, rolling into music time. This is a pretty cool week. Came across a couple music videos, and I'm not like a music video hunter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't go looking for new music videos, because unless it's a song I really like, I don't go searching for the music videos. I don't think music videos are the same and like have that same impression and aspect that they did a few years ago, or 10, 20 years ago. I just don't think it's the same. So to me, it doesn't. Like, it's another promotional aspect. That's it. Where before it was kind of like a craft to the music. But Kylie Minogue has a new track called Magic. The new video's out. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. I like the retro feel of the music itself. It's 4 on the floor style dance track, a little bit of a disco vibe to it. It's got a groovy piano riff, okay, and the bass line is dope too. And I like the music video because it's a fun environment in the club. Haven't been to a club in quite some time, so it's cool to see that they're dancing. And then obviously, because it involves the word magic, that they've got like these awesome, like cool, hologram or whatever, holographic, you know what I'm saying? Like dancing within the video. So it's almost like you're losing yourself. Like when you're dancing on the whatever, you're having a good time dancing, you lose yourself. Like maybe you have an out of body experience, but I just think it's really cool. So it's a cool track. So I'm definitely going to add it to my personal playlist on my Apple Music for sure, because I think it sounds really dope. But you guys know, like when you dance, sometimes you just feel like you're outside of yourself. And I'm not the best dancer. I like to have fun. But after some tequila, I'm definitely down. And You know what I mean? Like if the music's good and you're just vibing and feeling it and the bass is like beating through your soul, yo, it feels good. And so anyway, I recommend you check that out. That's Kylie Minogue's Magic. I will put it in to my next DJ Unprotected Laced Radio mix. That'll be dope. Probably be in the beginning of the mix. And then also, Norah Jones has some new music out. She has a video. Okay, also, I know I said I don't discover music via videos. And here I am. Hey, guys, check out these new videos. But this video is called Hurts to Be Alone. And, to find tracks, okay, so let me just back up a little bit. To find music for me, okay, I listen to a lot of different playlists and different apps throughout the week so that I can just expand, my library as a DJ and really hear what's out there. And plus, I just love listening to different and new music. So I usually, go into my Apple Music and they've got, I don't know if you guys are subscribers to that, but if you can go to like the For You at the bottom and it shows you like suggested playlists, a certain playlist that you may enjoy. And so I check those out and, usually a new music or chill music and whatnot. And then I also have my EDM app, DI Radio, which is cool if you like house music, techno, trance, whatever. Hundreds of stations. It's amazing. Like, it's really dope. You can't next the track or anything like that because it's all pre-programmed by like DJs or curators, but it's pretty cool. So that's usually how I find my music. So anyway, I came across this one. It was suggested by YouTube, most likely because I was looking into like piano, chill music, and you guys are familiar with how, Norah Jones gets down. It's definitely like chill music, you know what I'm saying? So I decided to check it out. It popped up and I'm like, yo, let me see what's up with Norah Jones because the video shows her, she's got a naturally pretty face, like no makeup. She's just hanging out on a beach. I missed out on some beach time this year, so it was like cool to see that. So I'm like, yo, I'm gonna hit play. But it was like really relaxing, cool track, obviously. But the video, I don't know if she's wearing a shirt or not. Like, where are the shirt straps? Is she naked? Is she walking on the beach naked? Is that really the feeling of alone? Hey, I've been skinny dipping before. Feels great. But she's just walking along the beach and then kind of runs into the water at the end. But I don't see a shirt. Like, so I don't know. Maybe that's the intriguing part. Like, hey guys, sex sells. Here's potentially Norah Jones standing naked on a beach to make you wonder if she's really naked. I don't know, but it got me. I ended up pushing play, and it's actually cool. But I like the personalization of the video because throughout it, she's like reaching out to like the camera or like if you were there with her at the beach, which is cool because, like you're alone, you're reaching out or pointing, hoping that somebody else is there. I don't know. You guys got to check it out. It's kind of like that piece of intimacy, but it's weird because the song's about feeling alone. So I don't know, but watch the video, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know if you think that she's naked or not. I'm not sure. I feel like I could ask her. Like if I asked her, what would she say? Don't know why. All right. So this has been a fun episode, okay? But wait, I'm not done, fam. Back to the important life question that we started this journey with. Me and you, we started this journey, okay? Here's the question again. If karma was coming back to you, would it help or hurt you? So I came across this question. I thought about it. Here's my answer. I think it would help me, okay? Because I work to balance out any negative choices through moments of meditation and quietness, where I take maybe times that I didn't make the best decision, whether conversing with people, maybe I accidentally get involved in a conversation and we start talking shit about somebody. I try to just go and learn from it, meditate, quiet myself out and be like, all right, I'm not going to do that. Got to correct that action and then maybe push some positive thoughts their way. All right. But, with social distancing, like I can't say that there's been much opportunity for me to bring bad karma. All right. I'm generally a good dude. Okay, sometimes like maybe I had bad karma because all these people who weren't driving for several months while I was still going to work now are behind the wheel and can't drive for shit. They forgot that little lever on the left side by the wheel. You know what I'm saying? The one that usually signals to other drivers your intention to go a certain direction. Yeah, apparently nobody knows how to use those anymore. So there may have been moments where I said some bad things in that stance. But I feel like karma might be good to me. You know what I mean? I don't know. It definitely, this type of question causes some self-reflection because you want some good things to happen, right? We don't expect them. Like, you never want to do good things because you know you're going to get something back or you're hoping to get something back. That's not the point. You do good things because it feels good and you want to take care of somebody else as if it was you standing there, right? But here's my message to karma. Hi, karma. I'm not expecting you. But if you happen to show up, please leave your gift at the door because it has been a while. And I'm not so sure I trust you because the last time you came with some fierce shit. All right, that's my message to karma. You guys, let me know. I hope that question resonates with you. You know what I'm saying? Feel free, hit me up on Twitter at DJ Unprotected, and let's talk about it. Let's get our karma right. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you again for tuning into The Output with me, DJ Unprotected. This podcast is presented by Aztec Nation, and I invite you to check out the company's other podcast, Killin' Time, that's TYME, a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time, which releases on Mondays. Okay, so I hope you're picking up what we're putting out. We've got a lot to say. Tune in on your favorite streaming platform next week for a brand new episode and another intriguing question. We out.